You could lose your job today. Not next year, not next quarter, today. Maybe it happens in a short meeting with someone from HR standing quietly nearby. Maybe it happens in an email before you finished your coffee. Here's the part that should actually worry you. Most people who get walked out never saw it coming because they built their safety around one company's approval. Your rent, your health insurance, your confidence tied to an organization that could erase your position before lunch. If you're sitting there feeling stuck, underpaid, unable to say what you actually think, stay with me. Now let's get into it. I'm Dre. I've spent time on the other side of the table, building compensation plans and running recruiting pipelines. And I can tell you the parts of that process that never make it into a handbook. Quick disclaimer. This is educational content, not legal or financial advice, and not a claim that every employer is scheming. Plenty of managers are genuinely good people, but the structure around you benefits from you staying dependent on it, and nobody inside that structure is paid to teach you how to reduce that dependency. That's what this video is for. If it's useful, consider subscribing. 10 ways to build real leverage outside your job while you're still employed. Let's go. Way 1. Translate your skills into market language. The thing holding most people back usually isn't skill level. It's how they've been trained to describe themselves. Ask a typical operations lead what they do, and you'll often hear something like, "I just help the team run smoothly." That answer is the whole problem. Roles like that routinely pay well in plenty of markets, yet people never see that number because they've been describing themselves like they barely exist. Your job title is not your value. Your actual skills are, and you have to translate them into language the market pays for. A customer service role isn't just handling calls. It's conflict resolution, client retention, and churn reduction. Frame it that way, and you're describing a different profile. Some workforce research suggests outcome-based, skill-specific profiles draw meaningfully more recruiter attention than generic, title-only ones. Open a document today. Call it your external leverage inventory, and write down every problem you solve and every result you've produced. Not for your manager, for you and the market. You might be underpaid because you've been describing yourself exactly the way your employer prefers, small and replaceable. Translate yourself before someone else does it for you. Here's what your employer is quietly betting you never figure out. Most of the proof of your work belongs to them, not you. Way 2. Build your proof of work folder right now. Most people only update their resume when they're desperate, when memory is foggy and confidence is shaken. Here's the structural reality. The company owns the files and controls the access. You built the systems. They hold the receipts. Research on internal reviews has repeatedly found that a large share of managers don't proactively advocate for the people who report to them. Not out of malice. The incentive just isn't there. Say you spent years quietly building a workflow that cut errors or complaints by a real percentage. Then a restructuring hits, and when you try to document what you actually did, you can't verify a single metric because it all lived inside systems you no longer have access to. Start a private folder today. Result summaries in your own words, screenshots of feedback with confidential details removed, certifications, anonymize before and after examples, written in upgraded language. Build your own record before someone else gets the chance to rewrite it without you. Way 1 was about knowing your own value. What we're getting into now is different, making sure the market can actually find you. Way 3. Keep your market-facing materials alive. Your company can eliminate a department before lunch, and yet most people feel guilty about updating a few sentences on a professional profile. That guilt isn't accidental, it's conditioning. Multiple workforce surveys have found that a large share of passive candidates, people who weren't even looking, said an updated profile led to a new opportunity within a year. Yet most employed people's profiles still reflect what they were doing 3 years ago. Your career infrastructure should never live entirely inside one company, because the moment they decide you're redundant, you're starting from scratch in a full panic. People with real leverage keep their profile current and stay visible without making a production of it. A few minutes here and there, not a whole campaign. A cold, dead profile is a signal that one employer has become your entire professional identity. That's not loyalty. That's a trap wearing a loyalty costume. Update yours to not. I told you to stay to the end. Way 10 changes your whole posture at work starting this week. But first, here's the real reason most people can't use any of this even once they know it. The rent is due soon, and they can't afford to walk away from anything. Way 4. Build a financial runway. This is the most real thing in this video. The reason most people can't push back on bad treatment or decline unreasonable demands isn't a lack of skill. It's that they cannot survive 90 days without a paycheck. National surveys on household finances have consistently found a large share of working people say they couldn't cover a modest emergency expense without borrowing. That's not a character flaw. It's a structural vulnerability. Quick note, none of this is financial advice, just a way of thinking about risk. Here's what leverage looks like in your bank account. 3 to 6 months of expenses sitting untouched in savings. Picture a manager who talks over you and takes credit for your work, while you've quietly been building a cushion. When you finally say, "We need to talk about how I'm being treated," you're calm and unmovable. Research on financial reserves has found that workers with savings are more likely to reject below-market offers simply because they can afford to. Even a modest amount set aside monthly becomes real leverage over a year, and the number in the account matters less than the fact that it exists at all. Ask yourself, what happens when your skills become less valuable than the ones you never bothered to develop? Way 5. Develop skills your employer doesn't own. Your employer pays for the skills you already have. They aren't investing in the ones you'll need next. That part is on you. Broad labor forecasts suggest a substantial share of core job skills will shift meaningfully within the next several years. Say you work steady hours in an admin role. Feel solid. Then hear 2 roles like yours are being absorbed into a more technical team, and a peer you trained is on the short list while you aren't. That week, you enroll in a relevant certificate program, nights and weekends for months straight. By the time your peer gets the promotion, you're walking into a new offer at a meaningfully higher salary because you moved when the pressure told you to instead of waiting for permission. Skills you build on your own time, on your own dime, belong entirely to you. No company can claw them back on your way out the door. Even the strongest skill set can't get you in the room on its own. That takes a network. Way 6. Build a network outside your company. Most jobs are still filled through relationships rather than cold applications. Yet most people's entire network is their coworkers, people in the same boat with the same leverage problem. Picture a former colleague, now a director elsewhere, messaging you to catch up. You tell yourself you'll respond later and never do. Years later, a merger sweeps through, and when you reach out for new opportunities, the silence is heavy because you never invested outside your company's walls. Real networking means showing up to industry events, engaging genuinely online, and having real conversations before you ever need anything. Some labor research suggests even one strong external contact meaningfully increases the odds of reemployment. You don't need 500 connections. You need 15 real ones. Reconnect with a few people this week. No agenda. Way 7. Create a side income stream. I know what some of you are thinking. You're tired. You've got kids. No bandwidth. That's real. But a small side income changes your relationship with your job in ways hard to explain until you feel it. Survey data suggests a large and growing share of working adults have one. This isn't a trend, it's a leverage strategy. When your employer is your only income source, they control your entire risk tolerance. But once you've got even a few $100s a month from somewhere else, you sit differently in that Monday meeting. Picture working a steady job during the week, then offering paid consulting on weekends, clearing meaningful extra income without ever quitting. The next time a manager gets loud, you don't flinch, because your next bill is already covered by something your job had nothing to do with. Way 10 turns everything we've covered into an actual negotiating position. Keep watching. Way 8. Know exactly what the market pays for your role. The easiest person to underpay is the one who never checks. Pay secrecy culture benefits companies because if you don't compare, you don't discover the gap. And if you don't discover it, you don't negotiate. Pay transparency research has repeatedly found employees who never check the market are underpaid relative to it, sometimes by a meaningful margin. Say you assumed your salary was fair, spent 30 minutes checking salary tools, and found the market median for your exact role was significantly higher. A gap quietly surrendered because nobody told you to check. Quick disclaimer, figures vary a lot by city and role. Treat any number as a starting point to verify. Every month, look at 10 job postings in your field. Save the ranges and have one honest pay conversation with someone in your field each quarter. The less you know about your own market value, the easier it becomes for someone else to quietly set it for you. Way 9. Build a reputation that lives outside your company. A reputation that only exists inside one building can disappear inside one meeting. Trust research has found professionals who share knowledge publicly are seen as far more credible than those who only operate internally. Picture keeping your expertise strictly internal for years, then posting short, anonymized breakdowns once a week, and months later, a recruiter reaching out with an offer well above your current base. Pick one platform, post regularly, share what you're learning, and build credibility the company can't control, can't take with them in a reorg, and can't bury. Now, the one I've been building toward this whole video, the move that changes your energy at work starting this week. Way 10. Interview regularly, even when you're not looking. This is the move almost nobody makes. Most people only interview when they're desperate. And when you're interviewing from desperation, you aren't evaluating opportunities, you're auditioning for survival. Desperation makes even a mediocre offer look like an open door. People with real leverage interview while still employed and stable, not to leave, but to gather live market intelligence. Research on hiring outcomes suggests candidates who apply while currently employed tend to receive noticeably higher initial offers, largely because they aren't negotiating from desperation. Every interview tells you what companies are hiring for, what salaries are realistic, and how your story sounds out loud to someone who doesn't already know you. Here's the real power move. The moment you're holding even one solid outside offer, your entire energy at work shifts. The offer doesn't even have to be accepted. Its existence alone reorganizes the dynamic. Your company maintains a contingency plan for your position. That's just business. Build your own before they use theirs. Here's what I need you to lock in before you go anywhere. External leverage isn't about burning bridges or disloyalty. Not every employer is your enemy. Plenty of managers are genuinely solid people working inside systems that weren't built with your interests in mind. But the structure benefits from your dependency, and nobody inside it will volunteer to help you reduce it. Real leverage is rarely built in one dramatic move. It's assembled quietly through patience, while everyone else waits for a perfect moment that never comes. One updated bullet point, one honest post, one course finished on a weekend, one recruiter conversation. That's how leverage gets built. The day you stop needing one employer to approve your entire future is the day your relationship with work changes for good. And it doesn't happen all at once. It happens one quiet decision at a time. You still show up and bring your best, but internally, you're no longer operating from fear. If this gave you something real today, hit that like button. It helps this reach more people who need it. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next, and drop a comment below. Which one of these 10 ways are you starting this week? The people quietly building their options right now will already be 2 moves ahead by the time everyone else catches up. Stay sharp, stay leveraged, and I'll catch you in the next one.